The morning sun glinted off the polished glass walls of Hargrove Dynamics headquarters, a place where wealth and prestige practically floated in the air. Outside the building, employees had gathered around something unusual. Parked in the middle of the driveway was a rare, bright red supercar worth more than most people's houses, and it wouldn't start. 3 engineers in expensive suits stood around the car with laptops and diagnostic tools. Their faces were tight with frustration. Standing a few feet away was the owner of the car, CEO Richard Hargrove himself. He checked his watch impatiently. "I have a meeting with investors in 40 minutes, he snapped. "Why is this still not working?" One engineer wiped sweat from his forehead. "Sir, we've reset the system, checked the ECU, battery, ignition sequence. Everything should be functioning." "Then why won't it start?" Hargrove barked. No one had an answer. Near the back of the crowd stood Marcus Reed, quietly pushing a janitor's cart. Marcus wasn't supposed to be part of the scene. He worked the early morning cleaning shift. Most people barely noticed him. A tall black man in worn work boots and a faded uniform, Marcus had the kind of calm presence that came from years of hard work and responsibility. He also had grease permanently embedded under his fingernails. Years ago, Marcus had been one of the best auto mechanics in the city. But after his wife passed away suddenly, leaving him alone to raise his young daughter Maya, he'd taken the first stable job he could find. Cleaning offices paid the bills. Barely. As Marcus rolled his cart past the supercar, he heard the engineers arguing. "It's a software issue." "No, it's the ignition module." "You're guessing." Marcus slowed down. Something about the situation bothered him. Then he heard the CEO mutter loudly, glancing in Marcus's direction. "Great. Now the cleaning crew is watching the circus." A few employees chuckled. Marcus kept his expression neutral and continued walking. But as he passed the car, he heard something. A faint clicking sound. Most people wouldn't notice it. Marcus did. He stopped. One of the engineers noticed him lingering. "Hey," the man said sharply. "This area isn't for staff." Marcus raised his hands calmly. "Sorry, I was just passing through." "Then pass." Marcus nodded and started to move again, but the clicking sound happened once more. His instincts wouldn't let it go. He turned back. "I don't mean to interrupt," Marcus said politely, "but can I ask something?" The engineer looked annoyed. "What? Have you tried listening to it when the ignition turns?" Another engineer scoffed. "We've run full diagnostics." Marcus nodded slowly. "I believe you, but sometimes cars talk in ways computers don't pick up." A few people laughed. One employee whispered loudly enough for others to hear. "Is the janitor giving mechanical advice now?" The engineer rolled his eyes. "Look, man, this car is worth $800,000. It's not something you fix by listening." Marcus didn't react to the mocking tone. He simply shrugged. Sometimes the expensive ones are the simplest. The CEO sighed dramatically. "This is ridiculous." Then he looked at Marcus. "You think you can fix it?" Marcus shook his head. "I didn't say that." "Then why are you still here?" Marcus hesitated. "Because I think I know what the problem might be." That triggered more laughter. One employee muttered, "Here we go." The CEO stared at Marcus for a long moment. "Fine," Hargrove said sarcastically. "Entertain me." Marcus stepped closer to the car. One engineer protested. "Sir, we shouldn't—" "Relax," the CEO interrupted. "What's the worst that happens?" Marcus leaned down slightly and placed his hand lightly on the hood. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he asked calmly, "Can someone try starting it?" The engineer looked irritated, but turned the key. The engine attempted to start. Click, click, click. Marcus nodded slowly. "Again." The engineer turned the ignition again. Click. Marcus stepped back and pointed near the front wheel. "Start a relay." The engineers froze. "That's not possible," one said immediately. Marcus stayed calm. "It's not dead. It's sticking." The engineers exchanged looks. "That doesn't make sense," one said. Marcus shrugged again. "It's just a guess." The CEO crossed his arms. "So?" Marcus looked at the engineers. "If you tap it gently, while someone turns the ignition, it might catch." Silence. One engineer sighed in frustration. "Fine, let's try the janitor trick." Marcus picked up a small rubber mallet from a nearby toolbox. He crouched beside the car. "Ready," he said. The engineer turned the key. Marcus tapped once. The engine roared to life instantly. The entire crowd froze. The powerful engine echoed across the driveway. For several seconds, no one said anything. One engineer whispered, "No way." The CEO slowly turned toward Marcus. "How did you know that?" Marcus wiped his hands on a cloth. "I heard the relay sticking." The CEO studied him. "You're a mechanic." Marcus shrugged. "I used to be." Another employee looked confused. "Then why are you cleaning floors?" Marcus hesitated before answering. "My daughter needed stability." The CEO looked at the supercar, then back at Marcus. The earlier mockery in the crowd had completely vanished. Now there was only silence. Finally, Hargrove said quietly, "My engineers ran diagnostics for 40 minutes. Marcus nodded respectfully. "They're very good engineers." "But they didn't solve it." Marcus gave a small smile. "Computers read data. Mechanics read sounds." The CEO stared at him for a moment longer. Then something unexpected happened. He extended his hand. "My company builds automotive software," he said. "But clearly we're missing something." Marcus looked confused. "What do you mean?" Hargrove smiled slightly. "Experience." He paused. "How would you feel about working somewhere other than the janitor shift?" The employees around them watched in shock. Marcus blinked. I don't have a degree." The CEO waved his hand dismissively. "Neither did the man who taught me everything about engines when I was young." He looked at Marcus directly. "But he understood machines." Marcus glanced down, thinking about his daughter, the bills, the years of struggle. "Would it help people?" he asked. The CEO nodded. "It would help us build better cars." Marcus finally shook his hand. "Then I'm interested." As Marcus walked away later that morning, several employees looked at him differently than before. Not with mockery, but with respect. Because the man they had dismissed as just a janitor had done something none of their experts could. He simply listened.